Hey guys, welcome to my Guild Wars 2 beginner guide. I'd like to start by saying that there will be a little bit of overlap with my free-to-play guide. Also, this guide will be intended for paid players, so if you are a free-to-play player, be sure to check that guide out. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. So like most MMOs out there, you're going to be faced with the server screen right off the rip. Now the only thing that's different here from most MMOs is that while you're picking a server that you're going to play on, you're also picking the server for all characters you create. So be sure that if you have friends that you want to play with, you pick the same server as them, and if you're playing solo, that you pick a server that is at least the same time zone as you. Guild Wars 2 also offers mega servers, meaning you can play with anyone on any of these servers, but if you want to do guild content or world versus world, you're going to have to be on the same server to do that. So the next screen you're going to be taken to is the character creation screen. Just double click on a blank square and get started on your character. Guild Wars 2 has 5 playable races: the Char, which are a giant cat type race, the Humans, which are humans, the Norn, which are very tall humanoid looking creatures, the Asura, the very intelligent and very small large-eared race, and the Sylvari, which are a plant type race. In addition to the 5 playable races, there are also 9 professions or classes. I won't get into too much detail explaining each one, but I will give a brief summary in case you're on the fence about which profession you want to play. Each profession has a different playstyle and different weapons at their disposal. The first class on the list is the Warrior class. This is a heavy armor class that uses adrenaline to deal damage. Adrenaline is acquired as you attack enemies, and when a bar fills up, you'll be able to unleash powerful attacks on your enemies. Next up on the list, we have the second heavy armor class, the Guardian. This class does both physical and magical damage, and has plenty of buffs to share with the party. While it has a lower health pool than the Warrior, this is one of the most durable classes in the game. Guardians use virtues to pass buffs on to themselves as well as allies, including health regeneration and Aegis, which is a free block for you and your friends. The final heavy armor class is called the Revenant. Now if you don't have Heart of Thorns, you won't be able to play this class until you purchase the expansion. Revenants gain their power from channeling legends or spirits from Guild Wars 2 lore. Each time you switch between these legends, a few of your skills will change, depending on which legend you've chosen. Revenants also use energy as their main source of dealing damage. Certain skills you use will consume that energy, so you have to play smart with the Revenant. Moving down, we have the medium armored Ranger class. This class specializes in using various pets that you find through the world, and as you might have guessed, has some pretty good range. You can tame as many pets as you like and switch between them freely throughout the course of the game. Pets are also exclusive to Rangers, so if you need a pet by your side, this is the class for you. The next medium armored class is the Thief. The Thief specializes in stealing and stealth, which is necessary considering it only has medium armor and not nearly as much health as some of the other professions. The Thief's steal ability doesn't actually steal any items from players or enemies, but it does give you access to a wide variety of skills that you can use at your disposal at any time. Despite not having as much health or armor, thieves are more than capable of hiding in the shadows and taking down multiple targets, especially in PvP. The final medium armor class is the Engineer. The Engineer uses turrets and kits to both keep itself alive and deal damage. Each time one of these kits is equipped, it changes a few of your skills. To give you a few examples, Engineers have access to bomb kits, grenade kits, and med kits. Moving down the list again, we make it to our first light armor class, the Necromancer. Necromancers can raise the dead as allies and have them fight along their side. They also have access to a profession skill called Death Shroud, which essentially gives them a second health bar. Death Shroud is great for prolonging fights or giving you just enough health to squeeze by some enemies if you're low. But even if you're low, the Necromancer can steal life from any enemy to replenish their own. The second light armor profession is known as the Elementalist. This profession has access to 4 elements that it can switch between, changing the type of damage you're dealing to enemies. A few of the Elementalist skills will allow you to summon weapons that not only you can use, but your friends can pick up too. The Elementalist has one of the lowest health pools in the game, making it an easy target for heavy hitters. The last light armor profession, and also the last one in Guild Wars 2, is the Mesmer. Mesmers create clones of themselves to do their damage. These clones can be generated by using certain skills, or even by dodging if you spec your character the right way. Now, while most of these don't do very much damage on their own, The profession abilities that the Mesmer has make up for the damage that the clones lack. With the press of a button, you can explode these clones to do massive damage or spread conditions. So I'll cover combat more in another video, but an important thing to note is that each class, barring 2, can swap between weapons in a fight. Elementalists and engineers, however, are locked in on the one weapon they have equipped. I mean this not as a deterrent from choosing either of these classes, but just something I think you should know now before you create your character. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to speed through most of my aesthetic choices. Also, I'll be creating a human class because I see a lot of human players in the game, as well as choosing the warrior class because it's a pretty user-friendly class to get started. Despite this, feel free to play any character you like, any race, any class. Additionally, there are no statistical benefits to picking a certain race, so just kind of go with whatever you're feeling. So after you've decided how you want your character to look, there are a few more choices you're going to have to make. These choices will vary from class to class, but they won't have a huge impact on the game. Usually 1 or 2 of the choices do affect the starting quest that you get and the storyline as you progress through the very beginning of the game, but after that they have little to no meaning. So just make these choices based on what you're most interested in or what you think's going to be the most fun. So after you've made all these decisions, it's finally time to name your character. After that, press next, and you're gonna get an opening cutscene unique to the race that you chose. After the cutscene, you'll find yourself in the starting zone depending on, again, whichever race you chose. Each race is going to have a small story mission that you're going to do at the very beginning, just to get you acquainted with some of the features of Guild Wars 2, but also to set up the story that you're about to embark on. At the end of this mission, no matter what race you chose, there will be a boss fight that you'll have to complete before you can move out into the actual game. These boss fights aren't very hard considering you only have one skill, so just go ahead and cheese your way through it and get out into the open world. After a short cutscene, you'll be greeted with these 2 crossed swords and a lion shield, letting you know that you've completed the story mission. You'll gain access to a new weapon and gain just enough experience points to level up. Now that you've leveled up, you'll notice a diamond-shaped winged thing in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Clicking this will show you all the rewards you got for leveling up, as well as a few other rewards you'll be getting in the future as you play the game. These messages will pop up as you level up, all the way to level 80. So now you're finally done with the opening tutorial and you have the whole of the world to explore. But before you do that, it's wise to first familiarize yourself with all of the menus and options in Guild Wars 2. To access the options menu, hit escape and click the options button. Now, I'm not going to go over every single option in this menu because we'll be here all day. What I will do is tell you the things that have helped me the most during my time playing the game. So in the General tab, under Content Guide, focus in on these checkboxes. The first option is AoE loot. This will allow you to pick up loot from multiple enemies in your vicinity, so I highly recommend you check this one. Next, we have auto loot, which I would recommend checking as well, unless you want to sort between the items you loot individually rather than just picking them all up at once and sorting them out later. The next 4 options allow you to turn on or off nameplates for NPCs, enemies, player names, and usable object names. I tend to turn all 4 of these options on because they can be very useful, and I'll explain what I mean. Without these options checked, you can hold down Ctrl and Alt to see these nameplates, but doing so requires you to hold down Ctrl and Alt the entire time you're playing the game. Sure, you could just hold these down when you think you're near something you can interact with, but I think it's better to know where all the items are that you can interact with right away, rather than having to hold down a button to do so. The option Always Show My Name is pretty self-explanatory. I tend to leave this off as I don't need to see my name over my head the entire time. Next, we have closing windows by pressing escape. I usually close windows by pressing escape, so I won't be turning this on either. The next option, Show Skill Recharge, is awesome. By checking this box, you'll be able to see live your cooldowns on all your skills. This is great for trying to manage your bar. After that, we have Show Target Health Percentage. This shows a percentage rather than just a static red health bar on enemies that you're fighting. This won't matter on smaller mobs, but when you're facing off against a boss, it's hard to tell how low they are. The only other option I would recommend on this list is enable first-person camera. This is going to depend on what you like to do in game, but there are some pretty cool places in Guild Wars 2, and you might want that first-person screenshot. Next, we have the graphic settings, which I'm not going to go too deep into because everybody's computer is different. One thing worth noting is that Guild Wars 2 does offer a settings preset. You can either choose best performance, which will make the game look terrible, but it'll run really well. Auto detect, which will automatically detect the best settings your computer can handle. And best appearance, which automatically maxes everything out. If you're having trouble running the game at a consistent frame rate, you might want to turn down shadows and shaders and turn off VSync. Vertical sync can help you with tearing issues you have while playing the game, but it hits your frame rate really hard. I'm not going to cover audio settings because that's mostly a personal preference, and we'll move right on down to keybinds. Like most PC gamers, I use WASD to move around the world, only I changed the game's default settings because I feel that moving the camera around with Q and E is a little pointless. By holding in the right mouse button, you can easily manipulate the camera into any position you need. Not to mention, unbinding Q and E frees up two keys very close to your hand's position that you can bind to other things. Now, outside of these basic changes, there's only so much I can recommend. Each person's setup is going to vary based on what they have at their disposal. I have a Razer Naga mouse with 12 buttons on the left-hand side, which allows me to use most of my skills this way, but not everyone has this leisure. I will say that I wouldn't recommend using double tap for dodge, but V is a fine replacement key for this. Whatever you choose, make sure that dodge is very close to your hand at all times, as it will be crucial in combat. If you guys would like to see a guide on different keybinds and setups, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Outside of the options, there are a few menus you should probably also get acquainted with. I'm only going to cover the menus I think you're going to need right at the beginning, and we'll cover more as they become more necessary. First, let's start with the inventory, as you're probably going to use that more than any menu in this game. Press I to open the inventory, and take a look at how much storage space you have. If you look in the top left, you'll see a starter backpack. This is 20 slots, it can't be upgraded, and all players start with this bag. Just below that, you'll see 4 blank slots that you can slot bags to increase your inventory size. If my inventory looks slightly different to you, that's because I have 6 account-bound slots at the top of my bag. These are obtained by purchasing them with money off of the gem store, but also you should receive one free one for purchasing Heart of Thorns. These are by no means necessary, but are very convenient when you're switching between different characters. If you look to the top right, you'll notice a cog. If you click that, you'll see a few options, and I'll explain what these are. Deposit all materials will deposit all your crafting materials, no matter where you are in the world, into your bank. The compact button will take items that are strewn about your inventory and sort them, moving them to the upper left of your bag. Hide rarity will show and hide the value of each of your items. Show new item highlights will highlight items that are new in your inventory so your eye is drawn to them. Show bags will turn your inventory into individual bags rather than one giant inventory like you see on my screen. And embedded shared bag just includes those account-bound slots that I showed you before. Outside of the inventory, there are 2 more menus you should look at real quick before you get started playing. Press Y to open the Contacts and Looking for Group menu. The first tab shows you any and all friends that you have, or that you'll make as you play the game. Just below that, you'll notice a magnifying glass. This is the Looking for Group tool. You probably won't need this until you get started playing dungeons in the 25 to 30 range, but it's good to know it's here right from the get-go. By selecting the activity you need a group for, and then pressing the Advertise Your Group button, you can type a message that best describes what you're looking for, and people can easily join on you, or you can join other parties that have a common goal. Finally, press H to open the hero menu. We're not going to cover very much of this because a lot of these tabs won't become really useful until later on, but let's start by taking a look at the equipment tab. Everything you see here can be equipped on your character. If you see nothing here, that's because nothing in your inventory can be equipped. Just below that, you'll see wardrobe. This isn't incredibly important at the beginning, but it's good to know that you can actually collect all the skins in Guild Wars 2. As you obtain pieces of armor, the skin will be unlocked to your wardrobe. You can then return here later and use transmutation charges to swap the look of one gear with the stats of what you have currently equipped. Transmutation charges do cost money, but are also found throughout the game as well as leveling up. Just below that, you can see dyes. All dye colors you unlock throughout the game are account bound. So you can see that starting this new character, I already have access to all the dyes I've previously unlocked. In addition, you can see the dyes you don't yet have, and just by right-clicking them, you can find in the trading post or the auction house for Guild Wars 2 and purchase these very easily. Moving past the Builds and Training tab, you'll see the Story Journal. This is essentially the quest log for Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 has a different take on traditional questing, but there is a main story that you need to follow to advance the game. If you ever forget the story step you're on, this is the place to go. Skipping down over crafting again, click the Achievements tab. I could probably make an entire video just on this page, but I'll cover the most important things real quick. So for everything you do in this game, there's probably some kind of achievement track tied to it. As you complete these, you'll earn achievement points, and unlike consoles and some other games, these points actually mean something after you save up enough. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see for every 500 achievement points I earn, I gain access to a new chest. The rewards vary based on the chest that you're currently on, but you can get gold, account-wide bonuses, and even some weapon and armor skins that can only be obtained this way. This isn't a really big part of the game, as much as it's something to give you small goals to aim for. You can slay enemies, complete dungeons, level up crafting, play Seasons of the Living World. Basically everything you do in this game is tied to one of these award tracks. So even if this isn't something you particularly care about, you'll probably end up doing some of these on accident. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call it there, as this is getting longer than I intended it to be, and we'll have to pick this one up in the next guide. If you guys have any more questions, or if you like this video, feel free to let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.